Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles. I'm here with my co host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So, we have a very special guest today. We have Cathy Deano. Uh, Cathy started her journey to become a co-founder of Painting with a Twist, the largest paint and sip system in the US, as well as Twist Brands, the umbrella brand, by volunteering in her community. After Hurricane Katrina roared into town, flooding her home, she was looking at ways to bring a little joy to her area. She found it with the idea of an art studio where women could gather, paint, and relieve the stress of the day. Adding wine to the mix didn't hurt. She and her partner opened their first location under the name Corks and Canvas in 2007. In 2009, with 4 studios under their belt, they started to franchise. At the beginning of 2014, they merged Corks and Canvas with Painting with a Twist. Painting with a Twist has always had a very definitive brand values. Painting with a Twist started out as a woman-owned, woman-centric business. And of course, that led to a strong dedication to family. In fact, the motto was always family first. This included the home office team, which you know intimately, and I can't wait to hear the whole story. So, Cathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I don't know about you, Rebecca, but I really feel like we have a celebrity
I was
here with,
thinking the same thing.
right? I First of all, Cathy, I have to acknowledge your philanthropy work. It is so incredible. You have such a fantastic volunteer history, and that's just what I know on the surface from LinkedIn. Can you tell us a little bit about your volunteer work and how it led you essentially to franchising?
Sure. So I was living in New York City and we decided to come home. I'd had a child very late in life, almost 44, and we decided to move home. And when I moved home, I didn't know what I was going to do. My husband had a good job. I didn't have to work. So I started volunteering. There was a lot to do here. He was young. So of course, when you're young, you're interested in children's things. So I was president of the parenting center at St. Tammany Parish Hospital here. I did that for a while. Then I moved on to the St. Tammany Art Association, because I've always been very interested in art. And that's where I found my passion, was in volunteering, making a difference in my community and having a good time too. I mean, it was, children's activities thrilled me. Art has always interested me. I've always wanted to be a part of that world. I'm not artistic, but I love that world. So that's where I got started. And then as my child grew up, I started getting involved in the schools, and that's where I met my business partner. She also had a child the same age, and we met at a room mother meeting and both became co-room mothers, and that's how we met.
So, room mothers turned business partners. Okay, so tell me that process. You became friends, but how did this whole idea of, hey, let's start this group of women getting together to do some painting? There had to be a process.
So we were kind of clicking along, doing what we were doing, and then Katrina happened, and we're on Lake Pontchartrain, and all that mess I don't need to go into, but both of our houses flooded. And once we kind of came out of that, it was time to kind of reassess what we were doing, and we wanted to do something for ourselves. We were women who had basically been supported by our husbands. We wanted to make our own money. We wanted to be more independent, even though my husband never said a word about anything about money. But inside of me, I wanted something of my own. And Renee felt the same way. So we started batting around ideas, and she wanted to do math, science in a box for the schools. And I was like, that's the most boring thing I've ever heard in my life. And so a friend of ours called. We were walking on the lakefront. We walk on the lakefront every day. And a friend of ours called and said, what about this idea? It's really not a new idea. People have been doing it at conferences. The husbands go off to do whatever they do, and the women, they need something to entertain the wives or the husbands, not to be sexist or anything. And so they would do these painting classes in Hawaii, and you'd paint a hibiscus or something like this. And so he said, what about this? And I was like, and I'm not an artist, and neither is Renee. And Renee said, who's going to paint? Artists already know how to paint. I'm not going to pick up a paintbrush. And I said, well, what if we could drink? And this is South Louisiana. Anyway, so she said, well, I'd come and have a drink. Well, we laugh about it, but it is really an integral part, because you walk in and all these canvases are set up. We call them white canvas anxiety. And you look at the painting up on the podium that the artist is going to walk you through, and there's no way. You just know. But I swear to goodness, you have 2 sips of wine and you're like, well, I'll try that. Oh, let me. Yeah. So it really kind of gives you it calms you down a little bit and gives you the impetus to at least settle in and try it. So it is an important part. So she said, well, I'll do that. And that's kind of how it got started. We just went to Michael's, bought what we needed, did a test class. And I had a craft barn, I called it, in the back of my property. And we invited a bunch of people, a whole different demographic from 16 to 60. And we didn't even drink. And we painted. And somebody walked us through a painting, my sister's daughter-in-law. And so at the end of the class, we asked everybody, do you have a good time? Yes. Would you do it again? Yes. Would you pay for it? And they said yes. So that was our test. That was our data. And we rented a dumpy little 1,000 square foot space in Old Mandeville. And it was at an intersection with a light. And so people had to stop, and we had big plate glass windows. So you could see what was going on, and people were going, what's going on in there? What are y'all doing? And of course, like I said, we weren't the first, but we were the first to really publicize it, put it on social media, and really get the marketing out there. We didn't even know we were getting marketing out there. And it just blew up. And then Renee, who's 15 years younger than me, still is 15 years younger than me, said, let's go to Metairie, which is New Orleans. And I said, I'm not going. You got to give me a passport to get me to Metairie. And so she said, my mom will run it. And so her mom did, and did a great job. And then we opened up Baton Rouge, then New Orleans. And then 2 of our customers came to us, actually 3 came to us all within 2 weeks and said, we want one of these. How do we do that? And we had no idea. So Renee had been going to PJ's Coffee. I'm sure y'all have heard of PJ's. They're also a franchise out of Mandeville. And so, and she knew the owners, and so the franchisors. And so we went and talked to them. They were extremely helpful. The Ballard brothers, extremely helpful to us. And they kind of mentored us through the first, I'd say 2 or 3, 4 years. They had the lawyers, they had the FDDs, they had everything. I mean, we had no idea what an FDD, we had nothing. So, and then we joined the IFA. And when we joined the IFA, that really helped, because we also joined the friendship program. I don't know if you're familiar with the friendship. We were the first mentees on the friendship program. And they hooked us up with Melanie Bergeron from 2 Men in a Truck. Which was a gift. You're kidding me. No, it was a gift. I'm telling you. She could not have been. I mean, we would call her about this, and she said, look, I may not have the answer, but I can get it for you. And we became friends. And so that was really, really nice. But that really helped us to move forward in franchising.
Wow.
Go ahead, Tracy.
No, I was going to say, I'm just amazed at how organically this whole enterprise unfolded from step 1, from the barn and your sister's daughter-in-law teaching the class, to just saying, hey, would you pay for it? And how organically everything unfolded. Well,
I come from a very entrepreneurial family. My father, my grandfathers on both sides, my brother, my sister, everybody's owned their own business. And so that's just kind of how I was. And I had opened up, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 businesses. They were all fun. None of them ever made a dime. But it's just, back then business cards and made some signs and put them up at the grocery store, basically, back then. And so I wasn't afraid of it at all. I just thought it would just be a fun thing to do, maybe make enough money. I didn't have to ask my husband for camp money for my son or, something like that. Renee wanted some really fancy boots. And I mean, we didn't really have really high expectations or aspirations at all. Yeah.
Well, and to me, that is a testament to this really is passion and purpose colliding, which turned into profits. And so whether it was accidental or on purpose, you fell into it and you fell into the right partner and you had a fearlessness that allowed you to move forward, right?
Or naive. You could call it naive, as they say, if I knew what I know now, maybe not. But yeah, it seemed pretty seamless and easy at the time. And if we had any issues, we always had somebody we could go to. But, I think it was just a timely, from our area, because of Katrina, it was very timely. There was still blue tarps on people's roofs. People were still freaking out. Their insurance wasn't paying, whatever. It was horrible. And so people needed something that took them out of themselves and made them relax. As it went on, we found that it was a gathering place for women where they could feel safe. They could go with their friends. They could bring a bottle of wine. I mean, where else do women get to do this? They can do it in their homes, but you have to make sure the kids are away, the house is clean, the husband's away. You have to make some food, then you have to clean up. I mean, it's this whole big old rigmarole. And so I think that, and you can go to a bar, but, not really. I mean, you can, but that's, the husbands, boyfriends don't really like that. You could feel a little, it's just not the same camaraderie building as you can do it at the studio. So I think that was really a driving force is women needed a place to gather and we gave them that. And so that was a real impetus to the success of the business.
Yeah, but it's evolved. It's not just women anymore. I mean, people go there on dates, right? What are the different?
Right. And, when I always say, women, blah, 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 we used to do a frequent painter card, now, of course, it's all online, but we used to do a frequent painter card. And the person that handed in the first one, you had to do 100 and no, you had to do 10 and you got a free one, but he'd have done 100 was a man. Wow. So, yeah. So he was an emergency room nurse, and he said that this is what calmed him down after work. So so it was really I love to tell this story. We were still in our same dumpy building with the glass windows, and there were a bunch of women in there painting, and one of them and in Mandeville our electric lines are above ground, so a bird sits on them and we lose power. And so we lost power, and we told everybody, put your name on it, put it against the wall. You can come back free of charge and finish. And they said, we're not leaving. And they went and drove their cars up to the plate glass windows, turned their car lights on, and we finished the class by the light of their cars. So I turned to Renee and I said, okay, there's something going on here that we have to figure out, because this is not what we expected. We also had same studio, a woman, she had come in, she had been to dinner, so she was already, getting there, and she had another glass or two of wine, and so she couldn't paint. So we said, you got to take her home, and they said, oh no, we're putting her to sleep in the back of the car, and we're finishing our class. So that's what they did. So, it really, I've heard people say it's better than a massage. It's better than therapy. It really gets you out, and you have to concentrate on that. And you don't drink much. We have not, with all of our studios and all of our classes, we've had millions, literally. We've never had a problem. That was the only that I've heard of. I'm sure maybe there has been, but nothing, you would have to report that to home office if anything happened. And that really, you're painting. You don't have time to drink more than a glass, two, if you're lucky. Half the time you put your paintbrush in your wine glass and you can't drink it anyway, so, so we really have never had a problem with anything like that. Thank goodness.
I think women gathering is just part of our makeup, right? Whether it was years ago quilting or crocheting or baking or whatever, we have a need for one another, or need for community. And you're providing that. Can you speak a little bit to that piece, the idea of community, the idea of relationships that are being built around wine and paint?
Right. Well, we've got so many net people are coming, they're doing team buildings because, I mean, what do you want in a team building? You want trust, you want camaraderie, you want fun. And you can get all of that there. And people are having dates. Like she said, it's building you can build your relationships there. I mean, this isn't anything I ever thought would happen, quite honestly. Really. I mean, we have church groups come and they'll say a prayer before they do the painting. We've had all kind of different groups come in because they want that community. They want that feeling of being together, and it's a good place to do it. It's a good, safe place for people to do that.
Okay, I have a side comment. It's completely off topic, but you probably didn't have any Baptists there, because Baptists are anti-drinking. I only know that because my dad was a Baptist minister. We weren't allowed to drink.
Yeah.
But I love the idea that the church is also coming together.
Yeah, they are, but I don't know if they're Baptist. I don't know.
Kidding.
But yeah, and I don't know, because we have a few studios that are in certain areas where drinking is not a big thing or is not allowed.
Yeah.
And so I asked the franchisee, I said, she said, oh, they're drinking. And I said, how do you know? And she said, because they come in with their Starbucks cups that you can't see in, and they drinking out of that, and then they smile and their teeth are red from the red wine. Yeah. So she said, they're drinking. They're just not telling you they're drinking,
It's such a beautiful combination. Like you said, it kind of relaxes and puts you in a different mental state, and then you get to be creative.
Right. Because people are afraid of it. Like I said, people are literally afraid of it. So that, kind of relaxes them, or it even gets them there in the first place. Like when they said, I'm not going to paint, but I'll come and drink, and watch everybody. And then you just kind of get curious and you start painting. And it is so easy. I mean, I'm still amazed at what people walk out with. And they're amazed at what they walk out with. I mean, it's not Picasso, but it's certainly better than anything they've done before.
Yeah. You know what always amazed me along those lines? That you can have a room full of people painting the same exact picture, but no two perspectives are the same. Everybody has their own spin. Everybody puts their own spin on what that picture is and how that picture turns out.
Right. But it's still amazing because we do the group shots at the end of the night, and it's just amazing. We do a paint your pet that's unbelievable.
Aww.
You send in a picture of your pet, and the artist will, before the class, will sketch it out in pencil, and then they'll walk you through painting that. And it's all different kind of pets, and or even all different kind of dogs. And I don't know I've never done one, but I can't imagine how they do that, how the artist can keep each person on track. One's got a Dachshund, one's got a German Shepherd. It's crazy. It's not like a usual class where it's saying, take this green, and everybody's doing the same thing. So, yeah.
That's so cool. I want to do that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a very, very popular.
So I'm wondering, Cathy, if I can ask you a question around this painting with a purpose initiative that you have. How does that all work? Because clearly it's all about community, relationship, coming together, expressing yourself, enjoying yourself, but there's also a give back component of painting with a twist.
Right. So like I said, Renee and I were involved in the community, and we were always asking people to donate something to a silent auction, donate for the firemen to get, vests, whatever. We were always at. So we thought we really need to have that component built in. So what we started doing with our franchisees, and we had done it before with Corks and Canvas, but what we started doing with our franchisees is once a month. It has to be a 501c3. You can do it as many times as you want, but we don't take. You have to give at least 50% and of the profits, not the profits of everything taken in, to that nonprofit. And it has, like I said, it has to be a 501c3, and we do not take royalties out of that because that's our way of giving back to your community. So with that said, we started wanting to be a little more, what's the word I want to use, cohesive with it. And so I decided I wanted to start our own nonprofit. Painting with a purpose. And so my brother-in-law, who is an attorney, he and I, every Sunday afternoon, that's the time he could give me for almost 2 years, sat and filled in the paperwork and all that for the 501c3. And we finally did get it. And what we did with that was we did some fundraising things. And then we had grants that we could give to artists that needed money for treatments and like cancer or their house burned down, and it wasn't huge grants, $1,000, something like that. So we were doing that, and then also our first one was for Haiti missions in Haiti after the earthquake, and I think we had 15 or 20 franchises, and we raised enough money to buy a drill for a water well. And they're still using that in Jeremy, Haiti, for getting fresh water to the towns that are outside. So, I mean, I get chills just even thinking about it, because that's just, and so we've got, like I said, you can get, you hate to say, but you get good PR too. So we started getting contacted by Vera Bradley. We did Wendy's. We did Wounded Warrior. We did, I can't remember. I should have had that list in front of me, but we've done quarterly. Before COVID, we were doing them quarterly, and we're just getting back into it after COVID. The franchisees are getting back on their feet. COVID was hard for us because we're a place that gathers.
Right.
So yeah, so we would basically shut down, and so it's taken a while to get. But everything about a year ago, we turned that corner, which has been great. And, we started selling again and kind of figuring out where who was still with us. And thank God most of them were. And, yeah.
So I want to highlight something, and I know Tracy has a great question, but I want to highlight something because you made it sound like it was not a big deal. But this painting for a purpose is a big deal.
Huge.
Made a massive impact in these areas that you are in. My understanding is contributions have been over $7 million. So that's a massive contribution to these various organizations. And yes, there's benefit business-wise to that because you get some, but that's not, you weren't going after the press. You were going
right. No, I was going after the feel good.
The feel good.
I just love it. I just love it. It does, you're talking about the heart. It just does my heart good to be able to do that, especially through my business. It's a win-win because you can do it, so much larger through a business than you can personally.
Yes.
Wow. That's huge, $7 million. And I know I felt like the same way that you were saying, like it was no big deal, but I just don't know of that many other companies that have this whole entire, what is it, that social corporate responsibility aspect that aligns so well with the company itself and what the company does. Like, can you speak to that about how the two align so like integrally?
Well, that's a tough question. It's always been our culture. Renee and I, not having a business background, just being moms.
Yeah.
we were moms and who raised children, and so we brought that sensitivity, and that's all we knew, and that's what we brought to the business. And that's, that's how we, our employees really feel like it's a family. Our employees really feel like, like they're there to do good. That, one of our taglines is "What we do matters," and our employees have all bought into that, and has most of our franchisees. One of our franchisees tells a story about how she had these Wall Street guys come in. They were doing a team build, and none of them wanted to be there. And it was just when the market kind of crashed, like last spring, I believe it was. And they came in, she said their shoulders were all hunched up. They didn't want to be there. And she said within an hour, the shoulders had relaxed. They were laughing. They were, they had a really, really good time. It makes a difference. You look at it, it's drinking and painting, but it's really more than that. Yeah. It's really, it's more than that. And we have story after story after story of people who, who came in and said they thought, whatever, they'd broken up with their boyfriend, they were getting a divorce, they hadn't, all they'd been doing is crying, and it just after the class, the circumstances weren't better, but at least they could breathe through it. Mm-hmm. So those sort of things, those sort of stories, just that's why I do it. That's why, I love it, because of the feel good part of it.
Do you think there's an element of it being cathartic?
Oh, yes. For many reasons. I think that there's also everybody wants to be creative, whether it's singing, cooking, painting, and really painting is one of the few things that people had not conquered yet. And you have karaoke, so you can sing, you have a kitchen, you can do all that by yourself, and messes up, nobody has to know. Sports, you're out there in public doing it. So this is a way to be creative, which is also so good for your self-esteem, and, and so good for, your brain and all of the other things that art, is good for, and being creative is good for.
So on that topic, going forward with painting with a twist, what do you see the future being like?
2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I bought my partner out. And brought in 3 new partners. And I kind of had thought, that I would step back also. I'll be 70 next year. And she wanted to go raise grandchildren. And, but I brought these 3 new partners in who were franchisees, and they had been talking to me about doing it. And they said, well, we need you for 30 days. No, we need you for 90 days. And I said, you'll get 30, 60. And I'm still there 2.5 years later. And I love it. I love it. We also I'm doing what I love to do. I visit franchises. I go to conferences. I do interviews. I'm not in the weeds anymore. Somebody will call me about something, and I'll pull a Melanie on them. I don't know the answer, but I can get it for you. Mm-hmm. And I also mentor. I love mentoring, emerging franchisors. One of my favorite gigs was talking to the business students at Tulane University. I love that. I love those questions. I feel like I'm helping people and giving the right message out, because like I said, my message is be ethical. Remember, as in franchising, remember who your franchises are. Remember what they've given up to buy into your dream, and make your decisions based on that. And I want to get that message out, because sometimes I'm just not so sure that message is getting out there. And I think it's important. I think that's part of our success too, is, do good and good will happen to you.
Beautiful message. Yeah. Beautiful message. What we put out, we get back, right? Especially if it's coming from the heart, and a desire to make a difference. So we do well when we do good. And that's what you're teaching every single day.
Yeah. And the new partners I brought in have huge skill sets. One of them was a high-level Walmart employee, so he brings so much to the table. He's the CEO of Painting with a Twist. Teresa Johnson, that's Todd Owen, Teresa Johnson, she runs Color Me Mine. We bought Color Me Mine and Color Me Mine supply company, Chesapeake Ceramics, in the middle of COVID. And so we now have those. We also own the supply company for the paint, for painting with the twist. So they run everything, and which is great. And they have such a skill set. It's just amazing. The business outgrew me a while ago, just because it just did. And so it's so nice to have people in there that, it seems like everybody's 15 years younger than me. They're all 15 years younger than me. And so they're just so excited, which excites me and has given me new energy. And I'm just having a ball.
Wow, wow, wow. So, Cathy, I'm going to take a page out of Rebecca's book, and I'm going to ask you, everything sounds so amazing. I love what you're doing in the community and the way you make people feel. The question I have for you is, has there ever been an obstacle or a challenge, something that you had to overcome, or, just something you came up against that really made you stop and go,
Well, I think that when I realized that the business had passed me up, that, my skill set, it was getting, technology was getting, it was frightening because I didn't know what to do. And I went to I believe it was the Unconference. It's a small conference that's in Park City. And there was a workshop, or not a workshop, but a session on founders who can't get out of their way. And it was fascinating. And it wasn't like, it wasn't negative. It wasn't derogatory towards, the founders that the business had outgrown them. It was the message that you're always going to be the founder. You're always going to be the creative force behind this. Nobody can take that away from you. And that was really important for me, that I wasn't letting go and giving, it was get people in there, that can take care of these people who have cashed out their 401ks. And that's when I realized I was not doing these people a service by staying in. What I could be is the culture and the face and the mom. One of my employees went through something, is going through something, and they call me, first person they call. And, and I'm the mom, is what I am, and there's a real value to that I had to realize. Also COVID, good Lord. And I have to say that it's just hard to look back that we went through that, right? Mm-hmm. And I look back and have to give kudos to my team. And we all hate this word now, but somebody has to give me another one, pivoted. Within a week. Wow. We had started Twisted Home kits where people could come and pick them up. We had playbooks for that. We had videos made. And so that really got us through. I panic for 10 minutes. And then it's like, and I panic. And then it's like, okay, as they say, put your big girl panties on and move forward. And so those were the two things. Did that answer your question? Okay, good.
Yeah. And a good message for others, that you are the heart, you're the torch, and you've lit the torch or the candles or whatever you want to call it, of others who are going to create a bigger flame than you were, but you will always be the heart.
Right.
You are
who can do a better job for your franchisees than you can. And, the payback for that for me is they're doing a great job. The business is just doing so well. And it's due to them, not me. So that's the payback, not the payback. That's the result of that.
That's the reward. And it's funny because you use the word mother, and that's what we want for our children, right? We want to instill in them passion and skills and desires and things of that nature, but then they bring their skills to the table and go to the next level. We want each generation to do better than the generation before. So you recognizing the right time for you to bring on these partners and let them do what needs to be done, take it to that next level. So I'm actually very excited to see where the four of you as a team take things. But we're out of time, ladies.
Oh,
So I want to make sure people know how to get hold of you, Cathy, to learn more about you, and of course about Painting with a Twist. How would they do that?
well, my email is Cathy with a C, Cathy, at paintingwithatwist.com.
Easy
Yeah.
peasy. You know, I love your entire story because it's classic, the franchise woman, where you started a business out of a passion. And then you combined it with a purpose, which led to these gorgeous, beautiful, intimate relationships in the community with your team, etc. And ultimately, out of that, there were the rewards, as you call them, of profits, right? So it's a beautiful story that kind of says, Cathy is a franchise woman. This is what we want others to experience also. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
being on the show.
I appreciate it.
And Miss Tracy, your final words, hon?
Look, I think you summed it up really well. And my mind just keeps going back to the word that the three of us were talking about, I think before we even started recording, which is authenticity. And I think that because, Cathy, this started from your heart as a way to connect with people, the intention was right, and I think when the intention is right and when it's truly authentic from the heart, that's when God blesses it. And, we always say like man plans and God laughs. And I think that, you just never realized in your wildest dreams that going into such a thing with such a pure heart, doing all this philanthropy work, volunteering everywhere, really wanting to make a difference and not asking for a cent in return would, that God would bless such to this magnitude, such an endeavor. So just, congratulations for all that you've accomplished and for knowing when to step out of the way and how to support and lead from behind. And just congratulations for everything you've
Thank you.
accomplished.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Thanks again, Cathy. And thank you.
Thank you.
We loved having you. We're going to have you back. Going to have you back.
Anytime. Thank you.
And to those of you listening in to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged, make sure to share this video with your friends, those especially in franchising. Like it, comment, share, do whatever you need to do, but make sure to be back next week for another episode.